And welcome. Today, I'm excited to have a conversation with you and our founder and director, Michelle Button. Hi, Michelle.
Hi there.
Today, we want to talk about the transition to fall. So it's starting to get a little chilly, a little cool breeze in the air. That humidity has drifted out.
Mhm.
And I'm curious, I would love to have a conversation with you, Michelle, and with anyone who's watching, if you want to chime in. How are you feeling about the shift? So, Michelle,
Yeah.
what do you think?
So my hair loves the shift. I love humidity kind of subsides. I have mixed thoughts. I'm definitely a summer girl. I love being outside. I love the beach. I love the ocean. All things summer. But when fall comes, like after Labor Day, I feel like I'm ready to be done. I'm excited to start wearing cozy sweaters. But I'm not a winter girl, right?
Okay.
So I feel like 4 years of college in upstate New York kind of traumatized me from cold and snow, and I'm definitely seasonally affected by the weather in that time of year. So I'm excited to be talking about this. I think as
Yeah.
a lot of us are in a transition, whether, your kids are back in school or maybe people took some vacation over the summer and it's like back to the grind. Um, college students going off to school or empty nesters. I do think this is a really natural time of transition. So I think it's great that we're talking about it.
Absolutely. That's one of our themes at Passages is really to just help women through transitions of life and even the transitions that happen throughout the year. So for sure, this is a big one. You know, Michelle, that I'm not as much of a summer girl. I do love the summer if I can go on vacation, if I can have time off, but when I'm working, we had that heat wave this year.
Yeah.
I did not even want to get out of my car. I did not want to get out
Hmm.
of my car to go shopping because it was so hot. This like oppressive humidity, that's not my thing unless I'm on the beach somewhere, you know?
Yeah.
So I'm happy about it.
Mm-hmm.
My kids are not. I think that I like the schedule. I did like school myself
Hmm.
as a little student. I love like going back
Hmm.
to school and the change in the clothes, like you said, the more cozy things. And I also like the structure. I think for me, structure, like my kids going to bed at a certain time or around there, around about,
Hmm.
going to bed and the
Hmm.
predictability of that. For some people, that's not their thing. They were so happy just winging it. But I love
Hmm.
knowing when we're going to have mealtime, that we're going to be together, and all the things that come along with having a little bit more of a structured
Yeah,
day. And yeah.
I think that's something I think I resist structure. Like I don't like structure, but I think I probably function much better with it. And same, I have a lot of teacher friends or clients that are teachers and love the freedom and flexibility, and hate kind of coming back to that
Yeah.
grind, and some that really thrive in it. So I think it's always helpful to kind of know how you function best and things that we can do to help us keep organized, especially those of us that are moms and have kids. It's always a nice break from having to do homework and, all of the
Definitely.
things. So yeah, just always trying to find that balance. And
Mhm.
fall is just a good time, I think, for me to like regroup and
Yeah.
new school supplies.
We
Yeah,
love our supplies, don't we? Our
love our
paper and
schools.
our
Yes, yes. Plan
our
new
pens and pen
planners. Yeah,
planners. Exactly. I
yeah,
do, right? That planner that's based on the school year. I'm like, oh, it's time for a planner. It's not even January.
yes.
Yeah,
I
me too.
love it.
So I think the other piece is like the obvious part about fall isn't just back to school and schedules. It really is related to the weather. I mean, I'm not telling y'all something that you don't know, but this
Yes,
transition to fall brings shorter days of sunlight.
yeah.
And I think one of the things that we've noticed as clinicians, but also just as people who go through these seasonal changes, is that decrease in sunlight and time that we spend out in sunlight. My kids are getting off to the bus at 6:30 in the morning, and then they're in a building all day. They don't get to see
Mhm.
too much sunlight when they come home. They have their activities and things to do. And pretty soon we're going to fall back and it's going to
Mhm.
get darker earlier. So
Mhm.
Do you see, Michelle, like, as a clinician, and through the years that you've been practicing, a shift at all for the women that you treat, in how they feel about these shorter days, less sunlight?
Yeah. I think I mentioned earlier going to college upstate. Um, some people are just really more sensitive
Yeah,
um, to daylight, to being outside, to the shorter days. Biologically, it affects our circadian rhythm. It affects our melatonin levels. Women are much more likely than men
yeah,
um, to have reactions to the seasonal changes, or in some cases, seasonal affective disorder, which we'll talk
yeah,
more about what that is. So it's something we see a lot. And, through the years, you can almost, our staff, our clinical staff, we can almost see the shift as
yeah.
we head, especially right after daylight savings, which I think is in November, right? November.
Okay, I hope
Um,
it's not any sooner than that. Yeah,
yeah, I think it's
yeah,
November. I think that first day, that first culture shock to, the clock usually when it's around 5:30, and we're used to having just more time. So I think
yeah,
even though time is the same, it makes us feel like there's less
it
time.
does.
So just more pressure to try to fit things
Yeah.
in.
Yeah, definitely. And I know for me that changes like motivation. I'm like, well, it's late, it's dark. I was gonna go see that friend or run that
Hmm.
errand, and you feel maybe like the day is over when it's the same amount of hours,
Hmm.
but it does really feel different. Did you ever go tanning? That just made me think of that. When I was younger, I think
I cannot confirm or deny.
yeah.
No, I'm not proud of this, but definitely when I was younger and less concerned about my
Yep,
skin and the potential, I mean,
damage.
the real risk of it. But I think for me, before I understood what seasonal affective disorder was or seasonal depression was, I just knew that it felt really good
I
to,
agree. Yeah,
be in the bright light and to, feel the sun. If you close your eyes, you could almost feel like you're laying on a beach. And
so true.
um, I think all of us probably feel like we look better with a little bit of a glow or a tan. This was before bronzer was a thing, right? So now we can get creative with
Now
that.
we can just
But
put that glow
yeah,
on.
so
That's
I
funny.
definitely would not suggest that in today's day
No,
and age. But yes, I have to admit
no,
that I I'm a reformed tanner.
me too. And I think that's probably what drew us to that in those winter
Yeah,
months. Like you feel, yes, you want that glow, but I think there is something to that with that
yeah,
the UV light and the change. So for sure,
yeah.
that's what I'm going to blame it on. I'm going to say I needed that UV
Yeah.
light, and that's why I went tanning, which I don't do anymore.
Well,
Recently,
and
my
to be fair, I don't
yeah,
think light therapy or light boxes
yeah,
existed. I have to double check, but if they did, I did not know about them.
yeah,
And certainly, I think that's one of our hopes with sharing some of these videos with our community is just letting you know this is something, it's not just you that going through winter really can
yeah,
affect your mental health. It can affect how you're feeling. And I'm excited to talk about some things we personally do to cope with that,
yeah.
but also some kind of natural, easy ways to cope with that. And
Okay, yeah.
some real therapeutic recommendations that
Yeah.
we have from.
So thank you for bringing that up because that's what I think we would like to make sure that we
Yeah.
cover for you. So yeah, seasonal affective disorder. Michelle, you're referring to that. And really that is something that women, especially as you said, are more prone to, which is basically a depression that's related to the season of year. And that's mostly related to geography and how much sunlight you're getting. So it's really the
Mhm.
onset of depression symptoms. So let me just read a few. So yeah, basically, if there's a family history, you're then you're more at risk of seasonal affective disorder. If there's a history of depression, same if you have your own history of depression,
Mhm.
and it's more likely for women between the ages of 18 and 30. And some of the symptoms would be, I just want to make sure I don't miss any important ones: low energy or fatigue, feeling down, hopeless or worthless, difficulty concentrating,
Mhm.
loss of interest, changes in sleep, usually sleeping more than usual,
Mhm.
increased appetite, cravings for carbs, weight gain, social withdrawal, also known as hibernation. So these are, they can be symptoms of depression if they're all year round, but a lot of times when they just occur in the fall or late fall to winter months, that's a sign that it's the daylight hours being shorter that's
Mhm.
impacting the mood. So Michelle, being that there's this seasonal pattern, what are some things that that you've shared with clients that can be helpful with treating seasonal affective disorder aside from psychiatric care, which we do recommend certainly for individuals who really haven't seen any of their symptoms get better, that
Mhm.
they would have a medication evaluation. So, what are some natural ways?
Yeah, so, I can share things that I have tried myself and that work for me, and kind of alternatives. Um, you know, there's such an overlap between the symptoms of depression or sometimes even
Yeah,
anxiety and being seasonally affected. So I think in this conversation, if you are unsure, you've never been to therapy, if you've never talked to your doctor about this or a psychiatrist or nurse practitioner, it's always helpful, even if it's just starting with your primary care
yes,
doctor, just to have a conversation, um, to really understand what it is you're feeling and is it something um, that's worth starting with some of these really easy natural alternatives, or if you need kind of further evaluation, which is certainly something we do, in our practice. I know for me, I have always been just naturally deficient in vitamin D, so I take a vitamin D supplement year round.
okay,
But I typically adjust it during the winter months, which definitely helps. And it's not a magic pill. It's not something that makes me feel better,
yeah,
but vitamin D is so essential in so many things in our body. So I just know like my body needs an extra boost. And your primary care doctor can run a simple blood test just so you kind of
sure,
know
yeah,
where your baseline is, which I really recommend. Because a lot of women naturally run low and they don't even know. So even
yeah,
just starting, now for going into this,
it's a
kind of
good
knowing where
idea.
your baseline is.
Yeah,
So taking a supplement, which is really easy. Light therapy is something that has become a little more popular and widely used. You can get a light box off of Amazon these days. But we do suggest talking to, again, either a primary care doctor or a mental health professional because they come in different wattages and knowing how long to expose
right,
yourself. And really, it kind of mimics, like natural sunlight. So typically people
yeah,
will do it first thing in the morning for 20 or 30 minutes.
yeah,
But like I
yeah.
said, it's really helpful to talk to a professional about
For
that.
sure. Yeah. And other supplements like melatonin, same thing. You would want to make sure
Hmm.
it's safe to use for you, but melatonin can really help
Hmm.
regulate your sleep cycles. Like you said, that circadian
Yeah.
rhythm. We do get off track. Isn't it amazing how 1 hour, like daylight savings, can really
Yeah.
throw us off, but also just what our body is interpreting when we see
Yeah.
less sunlight, that does need to be recalibrated. So if that's the case, some people find melatonin helpful to sleep more deeply,
Hmm.
to get to sleep faster, and to stay asleep. So
Yeah.
we
I
really
think sleep, oops,
uh,
sorry, Karen.
no, go ahead.
I think in our practice, sleep is probably the thing we, talk about the most. Sleep and sex, maybe. But, um, without sleep, it affects every, just our body's ability to function, whether it's too much sleep or not enough sleep. So I think that's really important, in terms of regulating melatonin and making sure that we can do the things we can control to try to get better sleep.
Absolutely. Yeah. The other one to add to that is just usually in part of that little, the pillars of wellness would be exercise. So moving. It's so much easier to move, I guess, when,
Hmm.
the day is at the beach and you go for a swim or you're back and forth walking the beach, but not being avoidant of exercise, which I
Yeah.
know that I'm guilty, that it's harder to get out, but things you can do inside, just different ways to be continually moving during those winter months
Yeah.
also helps with serotonin production and feeling better. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, kind of clever ways we're starting to incorporate movement. Walking pads have been a really I think popular thing lately that some people can like tuck them under their desk at work or tuck them, by the TV and, even just walking and moving can make a really big difference.
Can you tell I'm walking right now? Under the no, I'm just kidding. So that's really all that we have for you today. If this is a topic that you're interested in hearing more about, we'd love to hear from you. But we want to thank you for listening in. I hope you've made it this far. And if so,
Hmm.
and if you're interested in what else we might be coming up with in the next coming weeks, we would love for you to like and subscribe. We are at Passages Women. And we're also on social media, Facebook, Instagram at the same, at Passages Women. And you can find our website, passageswomen.com, if you want to see more about us and read about all of our amazing clinicians. So thank you so much for listening. Happy fall to all of you. Michelle, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you. And just we're also going to attach just a quick resource list with some more information in our show notes. So if
Perfect.
you want to read a little bit more, be sure to check that out. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Take care of yourselves.